Want to see more cool videos on our channel? We do, so press this bell and enable to send notifications.
Did you know that only 5% of the world's seafloor has been mapped? It's also ascertained that we know more about space than what lies in the ocean bed. We've reached out so far that we forgot to look around us. However, scientists and deep-sea divers are exploring the seafloor at their own pace, and boy, I tell you, they found something strange and intriguing in the depths of the blue sea. So without any further ado, let's get started. Number 10. Skeleton Lake. There are some days when you find lost valuables like jewelry in lakes, but then there are those days when you find skeletons emerging from a lake which haunt you for the rest of your life. No, this is not just a figment of imagination, but an actual occurrence which took place in the Rupkund Lake in the Uttarakhand state of India. This shallow 2-meter deep lake revealed jaw-dropping 200 skeletons, where the bodies still had flesh, leather clothing and jewelry on them. After analysing, it was found that the skeletons were 1,200 years old. But why weren't the skeletons found earlier, you might think? Well, it's observed for at least 11 months the lake is totally covered in a thick blanket of ice and snow. So when the skeletons were discovered, scientists were totally baffled with the view. So next time when you want to spend a jovial time near the lake, take it with a grain of salt because you never know as to what can be found. Number 9. Legos. Not just the bottom of the ocean is terrifying or interesting, but sometimes a few things pop up out of the ocean and make their way onto shore. This time it's not any living creature, but something that's non-living, yet very famous. One fine day in October 2011 in Florida, an 8-foot-tall 100-pound fiberglass Lego man was found floating on the Siesta Key beach in the south of Sarasota. The front of the Lego man had a green torso which read, "No more real than you are," and on the back, number 8 was etched with the words, "Ego Leonard." But this is not the first time that such large Legos were randomly found floating on the surface, where it's been observed that earlier these Legos were found floating in the beaches of not only England but also the Netherlands. In 2012 and 2014, the Legos had been seen floating yet again in the beaches of California and Japan. Pretty intriguing, isn't it? Which is the most strange or terrifying creature or thing you've witnessed in the ocean or the surface? Let us know in the comments below. Number 8. Giant Crucifix. Lake Michigan has a reputation of its own, where it's renowned to be one of the 5 Great Lakes of North America. It's also renowned to be the only lake that's located totally in the United States. For the Chicago millennial, it's a popular beach destination, but there's more to this lake than just young kids having a jovial time. In the bottom of the lake lies a humongous crucifix, which literally weighs a whopping 1,800 pounds. No, the crucifix is not an ancient monument, but was deliberately placed in the bottom of the lake in 1962 by the officials as a memorial to those that lost their lives in the water. It was initially dropped 65 feet deep in the bay, but later in 1986, it was moved to its new spot, that is, just 20 feet under the surface. Presently, it's become a popular tourist destination where in 2015, more than 2,000 visitors walked by on the frozen bay in order to see the giant crucifix frozen in time. Number 7. Anita Aquatica. Spiders are already terrifying enough and walk the landscapes with their revolting tentacles, but Mother Nature decided to evolve these creatures and give them the ability to breathe on the water too. Yes, you heard it right. The Agar Anita Aquatica makes up its own makeshift gills by capturing nothing but air bubbles from the surface with the help of its web. With the air in the bubble, the spider breathes in and swims in the water. Since the bubbles can't last for a long time, these spiders stay close to the surface in order to refill their DIY oxygen tanks. Well, although it's fascinating to see how smart they are, divers or snorkelers would definitely be terrified to bump into one. So next time you're diving into the waters, make sure to not bump into this little guy. Number 6. The Antikythera Mechanism. When we try to know about the ancient civilizations like the Mayans or Incans or Egyptians, it's been observed that they were more advanced than us and held knowledge about stars and galaxies without the use of a Hubble telescope. Innovative technologies in the past have been abundant and have aided the earlier civilizations shape their future. We know this because time after time, objects are found in ancient ruins or under the sea beds that tell us more about our past. One such marvelous piece of equipment was found in a rotting Roman-era shipwreck beneath 148 feet of water at Antikythera. A group of fishermen in 1902 snagged out this device, which was covered in other artifacts, and since then the device is known as the Antikythera Mechanism. Observations showed the device was invented between 200 BC and 70 BC, which makes it over 2,000 years old. The archaeologists found out that this piece of technology was used to calculate dates and predict astronomical events like phases of the moon and eclipses, and they did this by tracking the lunar calendar. Currently, the price of this device is much higher than the Mona Lisa, which means the device is worth more than $100 million. The Antikythera Mechanism presently sits at the most valuable exhibit at the National Archaeological Museum in Athens. Number 5. The Pelican Eel. In this list we'll talk about the Brynicle of Death, the black dragonfish and the siphonophore. But we'd also like to add one more because the ocean is filled with terrifying creatures and we just can't get enough. The pelican eel is another nightmarish sea creature that lurks at the bottom of the ocean with its bizarre jaw that widens large enough to exceed. Monstrous eel prefers to stay at depths between 1,600 and 10,000 feet. It's highly rare that they'll stumble upon any humans. The only time they're witnessed is with the help of unmanned submarines. Phew, it's a near miss that we don't get to see this creature. What do you think? Number 4. Brynicle of Death. You never know what you might find in the sea floor. It could be a dangerous unknown creature, or something like the Brynicle of Death. Brynicle is an underwater phenomenon that's also called the ice finger of death. It destroys and freezes everything that comes in its way. It's not man-made, but totally natural, where it forms only under warm temperatures in the ocean floor when compared to the surface. This is rare, but not quite in the polar regions. Since the brine is denser than water, it sinks to the bottom of the ocean, where the hollow tube of ice is created, and that is a brynicle. It resembles an icy water tornado and takes in everything under its spinning abode. So, if you happen to see brine, you know what to do. Number 3. The black dragonfish. If you're a fan of the movie Finding Nemo, then you must have seen the movie's depiction of a terrifying sea creature that lives in the depths of the ocean where there's no sunlight, and it has giant teeth and a bioluminescent orb dangling from its head to attract predators. Well, the horror doesn't just stop there, because a creature like that actually exists. The black dragonfish is an eerie sea creature that's named after its pitch-black body, where it's camouflaged within the deep waters that range from 1,600 to 6,000 feet. These guys are found in the subtropical and temperate waters of the southern hemisphere, where they closely resemble the creature from the movie Aliens. The female black dragon is known to grow up to 15 inches long, where she produces bioluminescent coloring that's not clearly recognizable by the human eye, but those sharp teeth definitely are. Terrifying, isn't it? Number 2. Captive dugongs. Dugongs are plump and goofy sea animals, and they're relatives of manatees. They make you go, "Ah," every time you see them. But when Delon Lim and his co-divers were swimming in the depths of the sea in the remote island of Kokoya in Indonesia, they couldn't believe what they saw. A mother and calf dugong were held captive against their will, tied to a rope in a cage. Judging by the scars and rope marks, they'd been held captive not for weeks, but for several months. The divers immediately jumped the gun to make things right, and they found out a local fisherman was doing this heinous crime for just a few bucks from the tourists. The divers tried to convince the fishermen to release the creatures because they are a protected species and are also vulnerable to extinction. The fishermen agreed to do so, but later it turned out to be nothing but false words. So Lim and the other divers posted the video of the poor dugongs on social media, and the rest is history, because the animal rescue officials set them free for good. In this cruel little world, we need more people like Lim to save the unfortunate sea creatures. So, kudos to you, Lim. Number 1. The longest sea animal ever. On April 6, 2020, the deep sea in Ningaloo Coast in Australia unveiled an approximately 30 new marine species. But wait, that's not all. The researchers found out the longest animal ever actually lived beneath us in the ocean's depths. This thread-like creature is not a new species, since scientists already know it as siphonophore, a little sea predator made up of identical creatures called zooids. They combine together as one large string in the ocean, where they can reach a whopping length of 130 feet. But this siphonophore is unlike any other because its outer rings spread out to 154 feet long, and when combined, this creature's total length is more than 390 feet, making it the longest animal ever to swim in planet Earth. Mind-blowing, right? Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please let me know by clicking the like button. Do share, write a comment, and don't forget to subscribe so that you can catch up my next video.